Alright, so I wasn't able to get into the Agora itself today because there was a strike, but I'm just below the Areopagus now. And we actually have a splendid view of a couple of buildings that I'll talk about a little bit more. So we can talk about the Stoa of Attalus first. I mean, that's the most obvious building that you'll see there. That's that really huge, long stoa down the east side of the Agora. And that building that you're looking at now has actually been rebuilt under the auspices of the American School of Classical Studies at Athens, who have been running the excavations in the Agora since 1931. And they put that building up in the 1950s, and it now houses the museum of the Agora and washrooms and a little gift shop, and also actually a lot of the archives of the excavation are in the basement, and there's some offices on the top floor there which have to do with the excavation as well, so a lab and computer lab and things like that. So obviously that's not the building exactly as it was built, although we can be pretty confident of what it would look like, because classical architecture can often be quite regular, or in this case Hellenistic architecture, but you know what I mean. Let's talk a little bit about the original building. So I mean, you might wonder, well, how do they even know that building, remains of which they found, was actually the Stoa of Attalus? And the reason is really because they found an inscription. Well, besides the descriptions in literary text, what confirmed it was an inscription that they found, which is right in front of the stoa now. I'll try and put a picture of it up on the video. And this would have been way up in the architrave, above the lower story of columns, with the letters painted red. And it says, or we can restore it to say with some confidence, it says, King Attalus, son of King Attalus and of Queen Apollonius, i.e. Attalus II, king of Pergamon from 159 to 138 BC. It's just filling in. So that's what it says, King Attalus, son of King Attalus and Queen Apollonius. And this King Attalus II had actually studied in Athens as a young man, and so this stoa was a kind of dedication to his alma mater, they'd say in the States. And it's really a splendid example of a Hellenistic stoa, and it's was probably given over largely to commercial uses. So note the lack of fluting on the Doric columns of the ground floor, apparently to avoid damage by merchants bringing wares and stock in and out, and by the general hustle and bustle of commercial activity. That's the Stoa of Attalus. And the other really the other building that we do have a really good view of is just to the left here, to the west. And basically you can see the Stoa of Attalus there, and then there's kind of trees. That's all the Agora, by the way. It's all part of the archaeological park, and they planted trees later on, obviously, after they were digging, to provide shade and make it a more pleasant kind of park style thing. And on the other side of those trees you can see some columns, and maybe you can make out that there are some statues on the top of them. So it's interesting, you can see pictures from when they started digging in 1931 of the tops of some of these figures poking out of the ground. So that's quite high up now, obviously, because they've cleared so much dirt, up to 12 meters in some places, although I'm not sure if it's right there that there's as much as 12 meters of ground cleared away. So only one of these guys, if you look at them up close, only one of them is actually technically a giant, with its legs ending in serpents' tails, and the others are actually tritons, since they have fishes' tails. And this building actually stands on top of the Odeion of Agrippa, built in 15 BC by Augustus's general Agrippa. And there are actually two phases of the Odeion. The roof of Odeion I collapses in the 2nd century AD, but it's rebuilt on a smaller scale with the addition of the giants and tritons, which held up the architrave of a new portico. And the second Odeion was, of course, destroyed by the Herulians in 267 AD, who kind of destroyed a lot of the ancient architecture of Athens once and for all. But this one actually was replaced by a late Roman palace, or a gymnasium. And for that, these giants, or tritons, were re-erected for the new facade. And the buildings was eventually abandoned, and the giants and tritons were slowly covered by earth to be rediscovered by Greek archaeologists in the 19th century.